Welcome into this week's episode of No Scrubs, a Vet Med podcast. My name is Grace. I'm the owner of the Acceptance Lab and a second year veterinary student. Today, I am joined by Kate. Kate is a second year veterinary student as well who is interested in large animal medicine, specifically bovine reproduction. Welcome, Kate, to the podcast.
Yeah, so I'm Kate. I have known since I was little. I mean, a lot of people are like this, but I've known since I was little I've wanted to be a vet. And there's just nothing else that I could imagine myself doing. And so, I graduated high school in 2019, and then I went straight into my undergrad at Berry College in Rome, Georgia, and graduated from there in 2023. And then I got my master's degree through Mississippi State University in a year. And then I started vet school the year after that. So my interest lies in large animal medicine, more specifically bovine reproduction or, large animal farm practice. I'm kind of waiting for clinics to see exactly where I want that to take me, but my master's was heavily focused around bovine reproduction and protocols. That way, there is such a need for large animal vets. So, whenever there's somebody with a passion for large animal vets, you absolutely should follow it because we need them. But yeah.
Big time. Definitely need large animal vets. And I think it's a really unique perspective being where we are in vet school is that we have a lot of students from rural areas that knew that they wanted to be large animal vets forever. So you kind of have this amazing smorgasbord of individuals with different passions and interests. And our class is really mixed. I think we have a pretty mixed class of large animals, small animals, some individuals who are interested in exotics, pathology. So we have a lot of people with a lot of different interests, and you can truly do whatever you want to do within veterinary medicine. It's just about, finding what your passion is and running with it.
So I decided to I volunteered a little bit at the dairy at Berry, and then I started to work underneath the college veterinarian. Her name's Dr. Knight. And so I was her vet assistant for 2.5 years. And so we handled all of the animals that were on Berry's campus. And that was really when it shifted me from small animal to large animal, because I grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and so we didn't really have many farms or anything like that. And moving down to Georgia and then being exposed to all that was really what got me passionate about that. But beforehand, whenever I got my first job at 16, it was at a small animal clinic. And I worked in a small animal clinic until I was 22
Yeah.
or 21. And then I switched over to large animal because I found that was what I really was passionate about. I did apply in undergrad, my last year of undergrad, to get into vet school, to just go right from undergrad into vet school. And I got waitlisted some places, but ultimately I really did want to go to Georgia. And so I was on the wait list, and I did end up getting accepted to Lincoln Memorial, but it was for a spring matriculation. And at that point, when they accepted me, I was already enrolled in my master's program. So, I did my master's not just because I thought it would make me look better for vet school. I did it because I knew it would help me in the career that I now wanted. So my master's is in agriculture. And being a large animal vet, going out to these farms and everything, the producers sometimes are, a little bit not biased, but a little bit like, you're a vet, you just want your money, you just want to come here and do what you need to do. But really, for me, if I'm doing reproduction and I get there, having this experience and this higher degree of knowing what the agriculture side is and what what would help their production be more profitable for them, because that's obviously that's what they want. I thought that would be really, really helpful. And I do highly, I'm a firm believer in everything happens for a reason. And if I did not have that master's experience, I do not think I would be the student that I am today or have the knowledge that I have right now. Well, in the moment, whenever it's like, oh, you didn't get in your first try, I take that as the biggest blessing that has ever happened to me, because I would not trade that experience for the world. So yeah, my master and then my research did get published. So if one
Oh.
day I did, if one day I did want to go into higher, education after having a published research project under my belt is extremely helpful. So really, I have nothing bad to say about getting a master's. But no, it was not the plan originally, but I'm glad it happened.
Yeah, and I think that really speaks to what you said, like everything truly does happen for a reason. I was kind of in your boat of applying, but instead of applying that first cycle, I kind of assessed things and said, I don't think that I'm going to be as strong of an applicant as I should be. I'm going to take an extra gap year, but that wasn't the plan for me either. But what I always tell people is the same thing that you said. It was the biggest blessing in disguise. And I got to work in a clinic for an entire year. I strengthened my clinical skills. I learned client communication and some of the diseases now that we're learning in second year. When they ask, who's seen this in practice, who's worked on this, I'm like, yeah, I was in that GDV surgery. Yes, I was in that, I know how to set up an ECG and read it because that's what I did when I traveled with the cardiologist. So like just having those experiences reaffirms what we're learning in the classroom. And it's been incredibly helpful. And I think people are stone set of like, I have to go to vet school right after college. I have to go to vet school after college. I have to go to vet school right after college. And you don't, some of the best students are those that take a little breather, whether it's for their mental health, whether it's just to travel and do something they haven't done. Vet med will be here for you. So if you're a student watching this who maybe got waitlisted or rejected this cycle, or you're a student who just is deciding whether or not they should apply this year and you need a sign to take that gap year, do it. You never know what opportunity could present itself. And yeah, take the risk if you want to, take that time off and don't be discouraged because it can lead to some amazing things.
Some schools do have GPA requirements required to apply. It's often a 2.8 or a 3.0, just depending on vet schools. But that means if you have below a 2.8 or a 3.0, they won't even consider your application. So you're just not eligible to apply. But a competitive applicant has a 3.5 GPA or higher. There are students absolutely that get accepted with GPAs within the 3 to the 3.5, but your chances of acceptance are higher if you do have higher GPAs naturally. In 2024, the average accepted GPA for the University of Florida was 3.5, UGA was 3.8, Penn was 3.7, Colorado State was 3.4, Cornell was 3.8. So that just kind of gives you an idea of GPA. They can kind of be all over the place. But I have kind of, from the outside looking in, I have seen vet schools kind of trending more towards, with the introduction of Casper and everything. Also, not only do they want you to meet the requirements of GPA, because you have to have some sort of, academic rigor to be there, but they also really take into account your interview and also your Casper score if you take that, and your personal skills with people and clients and your experiences too. So more experience can definitely help you stand out and does show your commitment to the field. But at a certain point, probably once you've hit 1,000 or more veterinary experience hours, it is quality over quantity. So doing hands-on things and being a technician or a vet assistant for 1,000 hours does stand out more than just shadowing, as well as having diverse experiences. So whenever I applied my first cycle and then I did the application review for the places that I got, waitlisted or denied from, I asked them, what would strengthen my application for the next cycle. And they said more diverse experience. I had large animal, I had small animal, but why not try something different like exotics or zoo or anything like that?
Freakylicious asks, how do you deal with debt and becoming a homeowner?
Debt, I mean, you go through your FAFSA and you figure out what you can get, and obviously they're probably, unless you have like a crazy income, which being a full-time student in vet school, you're not going to be able to have a job, like full-time job. They're going to give you enough to at least cover tuition and to be able to live. So I I don't know, like how much other people have gotten. It's not even something that a lot of us really even talk about. But it's kind of inevitable when you're going into a doctorate program like a DVM, that you're going to be in at least some debt unless you were just completely blessed by something. I don't know. But I mean, it's hard to talk about really because everybody's situation is different. So any vet I've ever talked to, they haven't really, obviously everybody's like, yeah, the debt. But every vet that I've talked to, that hasn't been anything on their mind of preventing them from buying a home, getting married, doing these life things, getting a car, going on vacation. Debt has not ever been a topic of conversation where it's something that anybody's really worried about, but it is understandable to be, wary about that because, you need money to buy groceries and to live, but everything does work out. Absolutely. Especially if you do have those loans.
Yeah. And another key thing is like, while you are a full-time student, Kate and I both have side hustles. Kate has like two side hustles, three side hustles. So like you have a little bit of time in your free time to have a side hustle. A bunch of our friends work at the teaching hospital as like veterinary assistants, basically, student workers. So like
I
there
did
are
that last
needs.
year.
Yeah, shout out. Kate not doing that anymore.
No, I'm not doing that anymore, but I did do that last year. Yeah, the night shift really got me good, but yeah.
Yeah. But there's, while there's debt and while it can be a lot, veterinary school is incredibly expensive. My perspective is like, it shouldn't stop you from pursuing your education and pursuing your passions and your dreams. And so a big thing of managing the debt of vet school is like, can you have a side hustle? Can you work? One of our friends works part-time at a veterinary clinic, like not associated with the university. So like there is time for you to do some of those things, especially on the weekends. And at least you can have a little bit of spending money. In regards to being a homeowner, I'm also not a homeowner. But some of our friends did buy homes and own their properties. And actually, when you do the math, like sometimes it works out to buy a property and pay off your mortgage over time instead of renting, because rent can be really expensive over 4 years. So sometimes it is better to go ahead and buy. But basically, there's resources available here at UGA. We have an individual who can help us manage our money. And I know other vet schools have the same thing. So if you just reach out to different people, I'm sure that they're able to kind of help you manage those types of adult things. But yes, it is about managing and it can become a lot. But as Kate and I both said, it shouldn't stop you from pursuing your education. So what's your advice for building your resume from now until the VMCAS deadline in September for a reapplicant?
It is specific to everyone. It just depends on what you have already done. So I definitely think having Grace help you out with that would be amazing because, I don't know exactly, but I can speak for what I did to strengthen mine after I was a reapplicant. It is nice that the VMCAS just re-puts all of your information in and you don't have to redo it. You just have to, I definitely wouldn't just resubmit the exact same thing you did. To strengthen your application, I would go to somebody like Grace, or Grace, obviously, to get your essays looked at, look at your experiences, see where you can make yourself stand out. You just really have to diversify your experiences. And I got my master's, which I think was very, very helpful, especially what my master's was in. It wasn't just, like an MBA, which that obviously can't help you, but mine was in agriculture because I want to go into, more ag-based vet meds. So things like that, it's just really specific to you. But as long as you feel like there is something that makes you stand out, I feel like that will help strengthen your application immensely for sure.
Yeah, 100%. I'll give you my 2 cents on it. So first, you need to identify what shortcomings you might have on your application. take the step away from you, looking at your own application and think, okay, if I was an admissions officer, what do you think could be stronger on your application? Did it come down to your GPA? Did it come down to your prerequisites? Did it come down to maybe some of the upper level coursework that you've taken? Did it come down to your experiences, whether it's veterinary specific experiences or animal experiences? What type of letters of recommendation did you receive? Did you receive them all from one veterinary practice, or did you receive them all from veterinarians, or did you only receive one from a veterinarian and multiple from professors or something like that? So take a step back from your application and kind of write down in an objective, kind of perspective, what do you think could be improved? Then identify those things and work on them in the next 6 months. Also, something that's great that not a lot of people know about is you can contact specific admissions officers at some of these colleges, and they might offer an opportunity for you to review your application with them, and they can tell you exactly where they think that there's a shortcoming. And your conversation with school A could be very different than your conversation with school B and C, since they are looking for different things in their applicants, but it can still give you an idea of where can I improve over the next few months. But as I said, it's very case specific, and it really depends on where your application stands right now. Feel free to send me a DM and we can take a look at that together. Kate, do you need to be good at math to be a vet student?
I do not like math in the slightest bit, but I will say it depends on what kind of math you're talking about, because like long division, extremely important when you're going between milligrams and kilograms and pounds and all of those things for drug dosages. Those are really, really important. But as far as like my prerequisites, I think we had to do 2 stat courses.
Yeah,
and stat. I can say I have never used that. Yeah. Not once. So get through those, get good grades in them, but you don't need to be good at them to be a good vet necessarily. I haven't found myself doing anything harder than long division, going between drug calculations and dosages and stuff like that.
I don't think that you need to be the best at math. It's something that through repetition you can continue to practice and do well at. It can be tricky, but they do a lot of practice, at least at our school. Like, we have entire labs of medical math, trying to figure out converting from kigs to pounds, and then how many milligrams of this medication does this animal need, or dilute this medication in the IV bag. That's all the type of math that we're doing. I wouldn't say it's any harder than high school level math, but also it's things like you haven't done in forever, but we are able to navigate it because of repetition. So you don't have to be a math wizard to become a practitioner. And there's also a lot of cheat sheets to help you with MIGs and mils and dosages and all of that type of thing. But you do definitely need to have a strong foundation in like basic level algebra so that you can cross multiply and do all kinds of things like that. But shout out, Kate.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. See you first thing in the morning.
Yay, can't wait. Thank you for having me. I had such a good time.
Thank you, Kate.
All right, bye.
See ya.